Good morning, good afternoon, herzlich willkommen, dear participants, to this session that we are bringing to you today together with GIZ, Green People's Energy Initiative, and of course ARE, on the paving the way for a clean energy transition with decentralized renewable energy, otherwise known as the PWCET series. Today we are bringing a first session to you on the topic of stimulating demand for productive use of renewable energy solutions in local communities. Next slide, please. We have a total of 807 registrations for this webinar. So clearly, a big thank you from our side, also from Green People Energy's side, for being with us today. We see attendees are streaming in. We're almost at 200 as we speak now. Our agenda today, you see it on the screen. I'm not going to read it all out, but long story short, we have a really an amazing lineup for you today. Very briefly on the PWCET series, this is a new-ish cooperation that we have between Green People Energy and ARE, that we work together to promote the public discourse on the subject of precisely the clean energy transition with decentralized renewables in Africa. So the emphasis here is obviously on community involvement and in exploring how citizens initiate and drive these projects at the local level, because as we all know, 1 + 1 + 1 is not 3, but 20. So there will be 10 events. This is one of them. And as I mentioned today, we will speak about triggering demand for electricity for productive use in the communities. Next slide. Yeah, so ARE, well, you know us by now. We are the oldest, largest business association for decentralized renewables. So 175 plus. We're actually well over 180 right now in pretty much every emerging market. Next slide. Of course, if you want to join this wonderful collection of ARE members' families, you are more than welcome to reach out to me or any of our ARE colleagues with us on the line today. Next slide. Well, our technology breakdown, you see that in Africa, that is our traditional focus market, where we have more and more companies coming from Africa also in our membership. We're super happy with that. So that's also why we have, let's say, the kind of topics that we can bring to you today. Next slide. Yeah, so to close from my side, well, this year is 15 years of existence of ARE, so we're blowing out 15 candles. We provide still business support, policy, and com services. As I mentioned, if you're not a member yet, of course, please consider to join us. And without further ado, I would like to very much pass the floor to my colleague, Mr. Deepak Mohapatra, who will be our moderator for today. Deepak, the floor is yours. Thank you all participants, all 213 of you so far, for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, David, for this introduction. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Deepak Mohapatra, working as the Policy and Business Development Officer at the Alliance for Rural Electrification. Once again, warm welcome from my end, and hope that you all are doing well and keeping safe. I have the pleasure to be the moderator of today's webinar on the topic of stimulating demand for productive use of renewable energy solutions in local communities. Dear participants, rural electrification is a key for socio-economic development of rural regions in developing and emerging economies. While energy is used for various consumption purposes, such as lighting, access to information, comfort, and entertainment, it is not sufficient by itself to trigger the development of rural areas. Since there is a high correlation between energy access and economic growth, the usage of energy should be aligned with such a way that it will trigger the economic development through the enhancement of income generating activities, and hence mutually develops the social well-being of the local people. Hence, the productive use of renewable energies could be defined as agricultural, commercial, industrial activities powered by renewable energy sources, which generate income. Today's session, I'm happy to note that will be a deep dive into raising awareness and education, tailored technical solutions, business models, and training and capacity building. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mrs. Berbel Hearn, who is representing BMZ as the Special Representative of Energy in Africa. Mrs. Hearn, the floor is all yours. Please unmute yourself And let's begin with the keynote speech. Thank you.
Okay, so I think now you can hear me, right? Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be part of this webinar because we are talking about a very, very important issue. My name is Bärbel Höhn. I'm special representative of energy in Africa of the Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development. And our goals is that we would like to fulfill two very important goals. The first one is a 2030 agenda for sustainable development. So that is the goal, to fulfill the 17th Sustainable Development Goals and leave no one behind till 2030. And the other is Paris Agreement, COP21, not more than 1.5 degrees global warming. And it's because we would like to help the people in Africa, because on the one side, we have to combat hunger and poverty, and on the other side, especially the people in Africa are the victims of global warming because of the floods, because of the extreme weather, the droughts. And so a lot of people are refugees there, have no possibility to live there. And I was more than 30 years in politics. Now I do my work voluntary, because I would like to help the people to make a better living situation for the people in Africa. That's my goal. And one of the main points to reach this goal is Sustainable Development Goal 7, energy, access to energy, because half of the population in Africa lack access to electricity. And most of them are living in rural areas. So 90% are living in rural areas. And without energy, we can't combat hunger and poverty, and we can't reach most of the other sustainable development goals too. So with energy, we can reach the goals of 2/3 of the 17 sustainable development goals better. And so that means we must activate this energy, and we must activate climate-friendly energy. That means renewables. We have now the situation and the problem that we have the COVID-19 pandemic, and that's really a bad situation for most of the countries in Africa. So less jobs, the people are losing their jobs, they have less income. And it's very important to look for recovery packages so that a part of this recovery packages are investing in renewables. Because we have learned that if we are investing in renewables, we create more jobs, more income than we invest in maybe more traditional fields. Please, next slide. Yeah, and the instrument to reach these goals is, from our idea, from Germany, is a Green People's Energy for Africa. That's a program. It's a bit, we would like to make some experience, because we need a bit more experience. What are good examples and what are bad examples? How can we scale up good examples? That is a field of experience, and we are doing that. And there are three very important points. The first one is that we need to support renewables, to invest in renewables, and especially in our program in rural areas, because we have the national grid, but Africa is so big, and so you can't invest in a national grid to the last village, maybe at the border to the next state, you know. So that means we are looking for other solutions, for off-grid solutions, and help the people in these villages so they can't wait for the time where the national grid is coming to the village. That means supporting decentralized solutions. And if we would like to work with decentralized solutions, we must work with the people who are living in these areas. So decision makers, there are mayors in the small villages and cities, but also small and medium-sized entrepreneurs, because we would like to build up the African market, the actors in these African countries. But if we can find cooperatives or public associations, we can work together with them, because it's a good structure to implement renewables. And the third one is to encourage renewable energy projects, because they have a common benefit for the people living there. And we would like to do that with a partnership between Europe and Germany and Africa. We can't transfer our ideas of the energy transition one-to-one to Africa, because we can now start in Africa with a modern technology, with a digital technology. We in Germany made our solutions years ago, 20, 30 years ago, and we had a grid to every village in Germany. But now we can look really for other models. So you have the model pay as you go, you have the models mobile money. That's so you are more digital oriented, you are more modern than most of the people in Europe. And we can now, because we have a white map, we could look for the best solution, for the cheapest solution, and for the solution that helps the people in this rural areas most. Next slide, please. And one of the main points is productive use, because if you have access to electricity, maybe you can change your candles in the houses by a lamp, and that's good, because less fire, because less damage of the eyes because of the smoke. But very important is productive use. As I said, half of the population in Africa has no access to electricity, but with productive use, you can create jobs, you can have more income, you have really a better situation, you can have added values in your villages, and you can really overcome poverty and hunger. But that means if you're looking for decentralized solutions, you must build up ownership, because the people in the villages must take the responsibility for this decentralized solutions. We must train the people, and we must look for good operator models or good maintenance, because when I come back in 10 years to Africa and look for this project, I will find projects that are working and not projects that are broken down. So sustainability, long-term perspective is very important. And that means we have to work together with the people, make them independent. They have their own solution, and they have a good model for the future. Next slide, please. And why is productive use so important? If we are looking for a study of IRENA, they looked at the jobs that were created in the field of renewables. And you have the direct jobs in the field of renewables, for example, in India, that was 95,000 jobs. Indirect, double of them, 210,000 jobs. But productive use is 5 times of the direct jobs, because with productive use, you can create more products. You can maybe dry your fruits, bring them to the market, and have really more income. And you can see that not only in India, but also in Kenya, that's 6 times more jobs in the field of productive use, or in Nigeria. So productive use is everything, So we in Germany, or we in the industrial countries, were nothing without productive use, because our industry, everything was growing because of productive use, because we had access to electricity, and then building up factories, and then creating jobs. And that is really the basis of our wealth in industrial countries. And so we must transfer this idea from our countries to Africa. Next slide, please. And you can see it, what we can do there. For example, the left picture, that is drying fruits. When I'm staying in Africa, I see all these mangoes. They are lying on the ground. They are rotten after some weeks, and that's nothing. But when we can dry them, and it's very simple, you can see that it's very, very simple. Only a small solar panel for fresh air, that they are not moldy, so and they are in a good condition. And that's all, you know. But for example, this man who stayed there with me with his peanut butter machine, he could make from peanut butter and sell this product with more money, you know. So that is something like a very simple productive use. Or this person who has a charging station for cell phones. So that means not only agriculture, we have a lot of agriculture, so combine energy with agriculture income, but we have also hard cutters or charging cell phone stations and so on. So a bit more service. And on the other side, you see cooling systems. If you can cool your fish, it's really good because you have it for a longer time. If you can cool all your drinks, you can sell them. And if you can cool the medicine, it's good, especially for vaccine or other medicine, even in small hospitals. Next slide, please. Yeah, and for example, you have something for your office equipment or some craftsmen. So it's very important, for example, for the blacksmiths, for welding, because you can replace your diesel generator by photovoltaic. You have less money and it's more climate friendly and it's independent because the sun is shining. If you get next time oil or diesel, you don't know. And what is the price of it? You have to buy it. But the sun is coming with no bill to you. Next slide, please. And even a bit bigger situations, for example, this tea factory in Uganda. As I said, even in industrial countries, everything, the whole economy is based on electricity and based on productive use. And that's why we are must be so strong to implement productive use, to implement access to electricity and productive use for the people in Africa. Next slide. Thank you so much. And I'm very interested for the discussion.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Sun, for this very insightful intervention. And definitely, I would like to echo your words that how important SDG goals and how important it is for us to achieve it within the time frame that is given to us, that is by 2030. And one thing that stood out for me, what you highlighted, is the ownership, that once we develop the solution in the local context, it is very important that the local people take the ownership so that the upkeep and the long-term sustainability of the project remains so. Therefore, definitely very interesting presentation. I thank you for the interventions, and now I will move over to the first speaker. Please allow me to invite Mr. Nico Peter-Schmidt, CEO in CEST, to do the presentation. Nico, the floor is all yours. Please note that there are only 8 minutes for you. More questions and discussions will be taken over to the moderated discussion. So yeah, the floor is all yours. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Deepak. I'm talking about mini-grids as tools for rural industrialization. Next slide, please. Let me start with an analogy. This is a picture of one of the first computers. At that time, people thought that it was great technology because it could calculate faster than a human being. But people thought also that there may be just a market for 5 computers in the world. Until next slide. Next slide, please. Until somebody found out how to use the computer as a tool to outperform competitors. And then the market took off. Next slide. This is a picture of a mini-grid. Mini-grids are fascinating technology because, as we have already heard from Mrs. Hearn, they can change lives in rural communities. People thought that actually, well, you cannot really make money with it until somebody found out how to use the mini-grid as a tool to actually enter markets that lie behind the mini-grid and attract revenues that make the mini-grids profitable. Next slide. And well, today, this short presentation will be on how to make mini-grids profitable using rural industrialization. My name is Nico Peter-Schmidt. As Deepak already said, I'm the CEO of Inensus. The precondition for rural industrialization is putting mini grids on autopilot. That requires a full digitalization of mini grids. For example, using the open source software Micropower Manager that my company Nensus put out to the market. Next slide. The idea of rural industrialization is that there are villages out there in rural Africa and rural Asia, wherever, that are unelectrified but have excellent local goods like resources, agricultural, mineral, wood, whatever, beef, meat, fish, whatever, that usually don't find their way to the market because the transport costs are very, very high. And usually also goods perish during transport. Therefore, next slide, please. Therefore, if you integrate a mini grid into the community and then integrate also a local pre-processing unit, you can reduce the volume and weight of the goods that are available in those rural areas and then reduce the transport cost drastically to finally make these products competitive with products that are produced closer to the urban trade hubs. That is done through conservation of the products and reduced transport costs. Next slide. As an example, my company Nensus, although we are a consultancy company, we run laboratory companies in Senegal, in Tanzania, and we just founded one in Uganda that actually are practicing rural industrialization. And here, this is an example from Jumema in Tanzania that is actually purchasing tilapia, fish, from fishermen on islands in Lake Victoria in the large scale. Before we came, the fish didn't find its way to the market. It was simply stuck on the islands. And at the same time, in Dar es Salaam, the large fish factories purchased their fish and imported it from China. 80% of that fish came from China, even though in the lakes in Tanzania, there was so much tilapia available. It simply didn't get the 1,000 kilometers to Dar es Salaam. That is what we changed now. The fishermen didn't have the expertise to do the logistics. They couldn't organize the process really, and it didn't really make sense to bring them like people with a secondary or primary education up to a university level education to run these processes. So we said, okay, we need to pick it up ourselves as a mini grid company. We have this expertise in house, and we already have sorted out the logistics to site. We already have the monitoring evaluation in place. We have the accounting and controlling. We have the staff management. We have the financial management in place. We can negotiate contracts, large-scale contracts with off-takers. Let's just collect the fish. Let's pay the fishermen well under fair conditions, and then let's deep freeze and deliver the frozen fish to large-scale off-takers in Dar es Salaam. This is how we use the electricity productively, but the actual productive use is not the core of the business. The core of the business is actually the economies of scale that you generate by running two different products under one management, fish and electricity. Next slide, please. Well, this is how we deep freeze the fish. Next slide. And we use all of these synergies that you can see here: financial management, logistics. We send university graduates to site, accounting, controlling, reliability of or reliable electricity supply. We have legal expertise. We have contacts to rural citizens, which are on the one hand electricity customers and also our vendors of the fish. So we can use the contact twice basically. And at the end, we also have good contacts to local, regional, and national authority, which you need for both businesses. And these are the synergies that you can use to cut down your operational costs on both ends and make the business profitable, involving the community, and finally channeling significant cash flows into the community that can change lives on site in the community. Next slide, please. Fish is not the only product that works under this rural industrialization approach. Like chili is another one. Next slide. We're currently setting up in Uganda a new company called Volterra. We just recently set it up, which is currently like developing a pilot, implementing a pilot on vanilla and chili growing. So this is the first rural industrialization approach that we are implementing in the agricultural value chain. Next slide. This also works, for example, very well with palm oil. And we are in contact with PowerGen and others on palm oil value chains in various African countries. With PowerGen, for example, in Sierra Leone, they would press the palm oil on site instead of delivering the palm fruit that you see here on the picture over 100, like several hundreds or up to 1,000 kilometers to the processing station. That reduces cost of transport and so on. Same works with cocoa. Next. Tomatoes do not really need to arrive like this if you prepare tomato paste on site before you start delivering the fresh tomatoes. Go ahead. Well, now back to the computer. Now if the computer has made it to this stage, next slide, I'm pretty sure that we'll get the mini grids there after a few years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nico. That was impressive time management, 7 minutes, 27 seconds. Therefore, dear speakers, please take note that Nico has set the bar high to manage the time for your presentation. Thanks a lot, Nico, for your very insightful presentation. I see that this business model has a lot of potential. You have taken an approach of a near market approach by solving the problem of having more logistics, import issues, and so on, that are the fishes that were getting imported from China could have been also imported from the Lake Victoria, which is just in the vicinity. Therefore, I see that how the local value generation is there, with this approach, that the money can be directly channelized into the community for their well-being. Definitely very impressive one, and I would come back to you with more questions during the discussion. Thank you so much. Over to the next speaker. I have Miss Elisa Lai, manager from CLASP. Miss Elisa, the floor is all yours. Let's see if you can beat Nico with the time management or not.
Yeah, he set a really high bar. Thank you, Deepak, for having me today. My name is Elisa Lai. I work for CLASP. We're a nonprofit organization that works to improve energy and environmental performance of appliance and equipment. And so today I'm presenting some of the market development and market transformation activity that are supported by the Efficiency for Assets Coalition. Next slide, please. To start with a very brief intro, Efficiency for Assets is a global coalition working to promote high-performing appliances that enable access to clean energy for the world's poorest people. Efficiency for Assets consists of 15 donor members, and many of them I hope is in the webinar today, and 12 program partners and more than 30 investors. CLASP based in the US and Energy Saving Trust based in the UK serve as a co-secretariat for Efficiency for Assets. Next slide, please. So high-performing appliances combining with distributed energy solutions such as solar home systems and mini-grids play a vital role in increasing energy access. And maybe this is really obvious that efficiency is one of the core elements in our program work, because efficiency is literally in our name, right? But the reason why we put on so much emphasis on efficiency is because efficient drives better clean energy access outcome. With high-performing appliances or productive use equipment, smaller battery and solar panel can be used in solar home system, reducing the cost and also enable customer to run more appliances for longer. One of our recent research on electric motors shows that a household can save 30% of the cost of solar energy system by using highly efficient permanent magnet motor in appliance and equipment in the household. And similarly, I think that the context for community level mini grids or like even in regrid environment, right? Efficient products can help lower the electricity bill and also reduce the lifetime cost, the operation cost. Next slide, please. We focus on appliances and technologies with the potential to increase the affordability and delivery of modern energy service. As the solar market continue to develop, there are a whole suite of different productive use equipment emerging in the market. And these appliances and equipments, they're all kind of in various stages of market maturity and development. E4A supports some of the very early conceptual and prototyping product through our R&D grants, such as like washing machine or even like health equipment. There are like a whole suite of different productive use equipment in the piloting stage right now that E4A also supports. So everything that you see in the middle section, from agriculture cold chain to electric pressure cooker to egg incubators, and they're really on the verge of like coming into commercialization. On the far right, we have commercial product that's already exists in the current market today, right? And so like the solar refrigerator, the solar water pump, or like even the TV and fans, like pretty widely available. Next slide, please. And for each type of product based on the market maturity, E4A deploys different type of activity and intervention to address different market barriers. And so you can kind of look at these activities as like tools in our tool shed, right, which we use to pull different levers. For example, we use awards and prizes to identify and reward innovative early movers and best actor in the market. And this also like catalyze innovation early stage of the market development. We test product and develop a test method to define what's a good quality product, and benchmark product quality to help market actor make informed decisions. We coordinate with market actors throughout the value chain, improve the flow of information about efficient and high quality productive use equipment. We conduct research and disseminate market intelligence to further understand like what's really is the productive use market, and also identify the best opportunity to accelerate the development and commercialization of emerging technology. We provide R&D grants to manufacturers and distributors to support product research and business model innovation. And so in the next couple of slides, I will be highlighting some of these activities. They're really targeting at stimulating demand for productive use equipment. All right, and so I hope some of you are quite familiar with Global Leap Awards already. It's an international competition that identifies the best appliance and productive use equipment for off-grid and weak-grid contexts. The competition identifies and promotes market leader in early stage market development. And through the awards, we kind of start develop some of the technical foundation. And so things like test method and for product and technology, they're fairly new to the market. And really to bring the best performing product to the market at scale, we couple Global Leap Awards competition with the best, the result-based financing, right? Using incentive to really help reduce the risk for early movers in the market, and for them to procure a large quantity of high quality productive use equipment and drive to scale of these like really highly efficient products. This model has been highly impactful, and today there are more than 289,000 of highly efficient products. They are sold through this program, and that benefits more than 1.2 million off-grid consumers. Next slide, please. And I think another common barrier we're all dealing with, it's the lack of comparable and consistent product data to help market actors make informed decisions. And this is particularly true for productive use equipment technology. They're still very nascent and new to the market. To address the information gap, we collect product data from the market. We test the product to enable greater transparency about product performance and quality. And we also understand the PUE sector overall needs more testing infrastructure, and so that we work with a network of test laboratories around the world and provide that technical training to testing partners locally. We develop quality assurance framework to help market actors differentiate product based on their quality and performance, and that include developing test method and quality criteria for a suite of different productive use equipment. And lastly, we share the data to people who can use and leverage them, right? Currently on the Verisol product database, you can find performance data for more than like 360 different models of appliance and productive use. And so highly encourage people to kind of leverage and use this resource. Next slide, please. In many cases, consumer use case and preference are not well understood for productive use. field testing is a unique platform to answer many of these fundamental questions regarding product usage, benefits, and technical performance and real-world condition, right? And so essentially, we're trying to understand how consumers are using the product, what's the durability of the product. And so more importantly, it really helps us understand the impact that consumer get through using productive use. And so this is a research that we conducted with 60 decibel. I'm not going to go into this too deeply, but just to show that the field testing is really helpful in terms of unsurfacing these information from consumers. Next slide, please. And lastly, I just want to come back to the voice of consumers. Here we hear from Prosovika that getting a fridge has helped me because a child asked me to buy them a book. I can take the money from what the fridge has earned us. And from Jacinta, a solar water pump user, I managed to grow a bigger garden last year, and this has increased my income, which I have used paying for school fee, adding more cattle, paying for all the basic needs of my family. And there's no doubt in my mind that productive use equipment can be transformative for the end user. And hearing directly from the actual end user and consumer on how productive use transform their life is just so much more powerful. And next slide, please. And finally, E4A produced a bunch of different research focused on market, technology, and consumer, and we really highly encourage you all to take a look at all of these. And my email is here, and so feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And now back to you, Deepak.
Thank you so much, Elisa. That was definitely a very insightful presentation, and what stood out for me in this presentation is the 1.2 million beneficiaries and who have, let's say, seen the real impact, and that is definitely a great achievement. So let's keep up the good work that we are doing. In terms of time, you overran by 1 more minute, so let's try to see if we can manage it with other speakers. I have the pleasure to welcome our next speaker, Dr. Hamid Beheshti, who is the CEO of Water Kiosk. Dr. Hamid, the floor is all yours. Please turn your camera on, unmute yourself, and let's go.
Hello, good day to all of you, wherever you are with different horizons. This is Water Kiosk, a project created by Boreal Light GmbH from Germany. I hope you're hearing me good because I see some of the interruptions on the line. But anyway, please next slide. When we start observing the best practice of productive use of renewable energy in Africa, first we need to see what are the problems. If we understand the problems, the productivity shows itself for renewable energy. Next slide, please. So one of the greatest problems that is always visible is the access to quality basic of the life. For us, electricity, water is for sure the two main basics. When you do not see any line here, when you do not see any source of electricity, so it shows that it's an off-grid rural community that is struggling with their water access as the basics of the life. And next slide, we see another aspect of such a challenge. Agriculture, farming. Farming, if it wants to go to an efficient farming, as Nico, actually I borrow a lot of things from Nico. It was great that he was before me. So I can also borrow the 33 seconds of him as well for my presentation. So as you could see in the farming, in the fish farming, when there is not a basics of the infrastructures, the community, they cannot grow, they cannot develop, they cannot just do extra miles. It's always repeating, generations after generation, they repeat their own difficulties. So when there is not good water quality, climate change, it deteriorating the quality of raw water, then farming is already losing the field. Next slide, please. One of the other problems we see is a malnutrition. You can't just bring electricity with a light bulb to a community and say that, okay, this is renewable energy for you. What if renewable energy can be more productive, can also tackle the malnutrition? That is a huge role renewables can play. In the next slide, we see the other function, the other need, which is, it's not usually the first thing that we may think of when we think about renewables, but toilets. Can you imagine the quality of the daily use of humans going to toilets? there is nothing there. This is a very, very true picture that you can see. Even this one is a very, actually, I can say is a teenage girl, but you may see 3 years old, 2 years old kids. They are carrying a bucket with them, going to a toilet, and you do not know what quality of water is that and why it should be that way. And you know what happens with the sanitation? Sanitation, when we are struggling with sanitations in such communities, the effect would be far greater, far deeper to the peoples in cities, because the impacts and the exposure to different diseases is far higher. What if renewable energy can also answer such a demand? Next slide, please. This is one of the functions, one of the outcomes of the sanitation problems. These kids, actually, I had several other more difficult pictures to look at, but I decided not to share really difficult ones. So these are the jiggers that, because kids do not have sanitations, going to the toilets, going to the fields, then jiggers goes into their feet, and it's horrible. It ends up to cutting their legs, and it happens. It's very, very common problem. What if renewables can also tackle this one? Next slide, please. So this is our approach. This is the way we are tackling this problem, by the productive use of renewables. We are manufacturing solar water desalination system in Berlin. And what we do is we are bringing this machine at the heart of a village community. And then you see the machine is at the center. We call it water kiosk. And then we put the solar panels on the top. The entire machine is running on solar. Nothing else is involved. No diesel, no grid, no battery, nothing. We get the water from the saline source on the left, whatever saline source it is a direct ocean or borehole. From right, we deliver drinking water quality. From the left, you see we deliver irrigation water quality. Then from the wastewater of the machine, we are growing algae, we are growing healthy fish, we are using wastewater for sanitation. First of all is a circular economy. Second of all is far greater use of electricity by solar panels. Even people come to this water kiosk, charging their cell phones, radios, laptops, whatever. Next slide, please. I want to just show you in the next slide some of the real field pictures. These are the ways that the machines, they are placed in the heart of the villages, from direct ocean to brackish water. You see the solar panels on the bottom right, one on the top. Next slide, please. You see here is the farm, the vertical farm, drip lines. These are all powered by the solar energy and the solar water desalination systems running on solar. Next slide, please. Here is the fish farm, simple fish farm, all powered, managed, oxygenated from the same machine, powered by solar energy. In this region, there is no electricity actually to power such a work. And kids are receiving the highest quality of protein in a daily basis from the wastewater of the machine. Next slide, please. And on the unemployment, even renewables is tackling the unemployment. Look at the faces of these operators, the youngest people in the villages. Now they can, from the benefit of renewables, joining their village, coming to their village, they are running the machine, operating the machine, selling water, running the farm, running the fish farm, all on themselves. So far, we have hired hundreds of operators in our project across East Africa. Next slide, please. Yeah, and this one, and not just the problem of the unemployment and whatever that I mentioned. This machine is installed in the second biggest hospital in East Africa. Imagine the hospital that you needed to bring water in for your patient. Imagine your brother, your sister, your mother is in a hospital. One of your problem and challenges is supplying water to your relatives there, to your loved ones. And then with this machine, with renewables, the hospitals, now 33 hospitals in East Africa have already received this machine, powering by solar energy and delivering the highest quality of drinking water to people. You may also love the next slide. When you see that people from the operation theater, they come to the machine collecting the highest quality hygiene drinking water for the patients and for the doctors, for the surgeons themselves. This is the beauty of productive use of renewable energy, not just lighting up a lamp. Lighting up a lamp, that's okay. Obviously, absolutely, that's okay. But renewables can play a far greater role. And next slide, please. And here in this project, you can see a correct layout of a project. You see the borehole, which is a saline borehole, a nasty water. You see the solar panels, you see the machine at the bottom, and then you see the fish tanks, vertical farm, nursery, and then the sanitation center. This village used to be the least developed part of the planet I've visited, and now is a symbol of development. I just have one more slide for you. And in this slide, all what I said about the productive use of renewable energy, you can see it here, is a genuine art that we created for our work, from the hospitals on the bottom to the drinking water, irrigation water, mobile charging, fish farming, transportation, electromobility, and all what you can imagine from the productive use of renewables. You can have it here in this picture. This is what we are very much proud of. And I'm just wrapping up. I think the last slide is just the closing. If there is any question later, I can also answer it. I'm done. Thank you, Deepak.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ahmed. Wow. What can we achieve with providing DRE solution interlinked with water security, that we can take care of problems like sanitation, access to water, agriculture, fishing, job creation, healthcare, and whatnot? Definitely, Ahmed, this was a very insightful presentation. I'm pretty sure our audience would be very informed with this. And if they have questions, dear audience, please make use of this question function on GoToWebinar, please, to ask your questions, and I will try my level best to raise your questions during the moderated panel discussion. Without taking more time, I have the pleasure to invite our next speaker, Ms. Eileen Lara, Chairperson, Women in Renewable Energy, Uganda. Eileen, the floor is all yours. Please turn your camera on and unmute yourself.
Thank you, Deepak. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all the listeners. Firstly, thank you, ARE and BMZ GIZ for this opportunity to showcase our work. My name is Eileen Lara, Chairperson of Women in Renewable Energy Association Uganda, as well as the project engineer at the Center for Research in Energy and Energy Conservation. What I'm presenting today are what we have done so far in empowering communities for productive use of renewable energy. Next slide, please. The statistics that I'm going to show next are for Uganda. So Uganda is a country in sub-Saharan Africa. Our access rate is about 1.2 gigawatt, not our access rate, sorry, our connection to electricity is about 1.2 gigawatt, and 80% of this is from hydro. Our access rate is only 28% national coverage, of which only about 6 to 10% is in the rural areas. With solar energy, this has massively increased across the country, and we have seen in the past few years more solar rooftop coming up, mini grids are coming up. We have about 50 megawatts connected onto the grid so far. So inside is a picture showing the grid densification. It's not very clear, but you will notice that, of course, in the urban areas there's a high concentration of grid, and in the rural areas we have most people actually off-grid or using solar standalone systems. Next slide, please. Going into what we are keen about as women in renewable energy, the gender statistics for our country currently. Of course, most of the world's poorest are women, especially those living in rural areas. And in developing countries, we find this issue is even greater affected. You find there is lack of modern fuels, they're moving a long distance to get access. There are challenges with getting power to do, basically they're using rudimentary methods to do every sort of work. With Uganda, we have about 30% of the 7.3 million households female-headed. These are statistics from 2020 report. 29.4% live below the poverty line of $1 per day. And you find many families, literally, especially now in COVID, this could have even gone even lower. That many families are basically trying to keep up with living life. So increased access to energy sources in these areas The speakers ahead of me have rightly put it, as increasing incomes, increasing productive use definitely means increasing income. And what we will see is a spark and a rise of this poverty line. So increased access to energy helps us to achieve the development goals that we would like to achieve in the Sustainable Development Plan. Next slide, please. So jumping into what we are about as Women in Renewable Energy Association Uganda, we are passionate about life transformation to women through skill enhancement. Skill enhancement is not only what we do, but we find it is one of our key areas. We have been in operation since January 29 and have been, so it's about 2 years so far. Some of the things that we have been keen on doing are capacity building, especially in peri-urban and rural areas. What we do is we train the women in renewable energy skills, from briquette making to solar. The lockdown has affected us a bit, and this year we were not able to do trainings in this last half of the year. However, we shall pick up once all this is over. We encourage innovation with the women. We encourage decentralization. Decentralization is basically in all the different players coming into the market and each one being able to support in their areas. Sometimes this one of our activities, male engagement, is always contested. However, we feel we cannot have the women on board without having the men supporting them, because at the end of the day, every woman is linked to a man and every man is linked to a woman. So we find we must have the holistic support of each member to achieve our objectives. Partnership is also something we're very strong about, and mentorship. With the mentorship, we have activities with the students that we engage, as well as in the rural communities. We put them in groups where they're able to support and train one another. So we can have like a TOT, a training of trainers, and those support more women groups to set up. So we do a lot of the women groups to help each other hold their hands. And this has helped spark the smaller number trained to keep on training more and more. Next slide, please. So jumping into the productive use applications, which is our main topic today, we have Madam Hyun already mentioned out very clearly with great pictures. Some of the key things in Uganda are milling. You find some are doing maize milling, some are actually using groundnuts and doing the peanut paste. There is the cooling, there is milk, there is fish, and ice production plants in the islands, and food drying. But many of these applications have various challenges, especially once you get onto ground and trying to achieve them. You'll find there is a lack of awareness on how some of these products work. There is a lack of awareness on the benefits of these products. There's a lack of awareness of even where to get these products. In Uganda here, we grapple with quality products. So quality becomes a very big issue when we talk about solar, especially when we are trying to bring in solar technologies that support renewable energy applications, productive use applications. So there's limited business training as well. When we want to increase people in business, increase incomes, you find some of them do not actually know how to run a business. Of course, some families are rooted in a line that's already business centered, but some are actually totally clueless on how to run a successful business. So some of those you find are limited skills among not just the women, but generally in the communities. Limited access to finance is a standard measure you find. The technologies, some of them to acquire them is at a cost of which these rural communities cannot afford. So these all are barriers. For solar developers, which I'll talk more in depth in the next slide, you find there is need for local knowledge and experience to get into the right value chains. I like what Enensas is doing and trying to get into the market. That knowledge is one of the challenges that brings the issues that need someone to really study the market and see how to best improve their communities. The last speaker talked about understanding the problem. That's very key to getting us to the solution. So some of what has happened already in Uganda and what we as the women in renewable energy have been supporting are with like the issues like training, just getting people more aware on what they can do, both business-wise and both about the applications and the benefits that these resources bring. We have the business startup loans that some mini-grid developers give. This help you improve the incomes that are in for the members. With the asset financing, so loans are given to help the farmers or communities to actually afford these systems. So those they can pay back with time. And then you can create the business hubs. All this helps to stir up demand, stir up awareness. So all these are like the kiosks that you can have with solar, with productive use applications. These all help to stir up the market. In conclusion, my last slide, there are several challenges and there are several opportunities that we can use to harness the challenges that are gripping in this sector. However, with partnerships, we know that we can go strong and we know that we can overcome, and the benefits are plenteous. My last slide, I would like to thank you, and thank you for our members, our partners, ARE, Rest for Africa, CREEK, Atonga Media for the support, and you can get in touch with us and we can have more discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eileen. And definitely while you were presenting, I was thinking about what Nico presented, the market study. That is basically one of the key solutions to your challenges that you mentioned. And I'm being both in NSYS and now with your organization being the members of ARE, happy to be the bridge between you two to establish connection and so that you can start engaging with each other and learn and scale up the activities. Thank you so much for your intervention. Next, I have Mr. Abdu Endor, Program Coordinator, ENDA Energy. Mr. Abdu, please unmute yourself and turn on your camera, and the floor is all yours. And please make sure that we stick to the time so that we can liberate more time for our discussion. Thank you. The floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you. It's okay? You hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you very much, all the audience. I'm very happy, and I thank all the organizers of this webinar. I'm Mr. Abdul, and I'm Program Coordinator at ENDA Energy in Senegal. And I would like to share this experience with you. Named Progressly is a regional program in milk value chain. We are dealing with the European Union, but also with GIZ, and I would like to thank them before. Please. So, next slide, please. This experience is one we done in Senegal, and we are running here in Senegal and in Mauritania in 4 areas. Move. Next slide. And the context of this, the problematic of our project is based on 2 paradoxes. The first one is that where we produce milk in a fund where we produce milk, we don't have energy, and where we have energy to process the milk, we don't have the milk production. The second one is that if you analyze the bill, the milk bill of the country of Senegal is very high, and in the other side we have a very big potential or not explored, and we think that if you valorize our potential, we can solve all our need of milk. Next slide, please. If you analyze also the context, we have some challenges, and the first one is the access to cheaper energy, and we can solve it if we use the grid, but solar energy or renewable energy can help us to higher the access of energy and to have cheap energy in rural area. The second one is if you analyze also our agriculture sector like breeders, the professionalization is a very big problem. We have some farmers who don't have experience and who don't have training and so on, and we need to professionalize them, to train them, and to improve the production. Second one is if you look at the production of the milk, we see that we have a very big difference in the season, in the rainy season and the dry season, and we need to if you want to improve it, we need to securitize the production. And the fourth one is the market. We need also to develop, if you want to develop the business market of the milk products. Yes, next slide. So after that, the objective of our project was to higher the access of energy, and we can't do it in rural area if you don't use renewable energy. The second objective was to develop also the entrepreneurship, to create entrepreneurship and to improve the life in this area. The second one is that if you want to do it also, we can't do it for each people, but you have to organize to do some organization model for local communities and for villages, and it can help also to develop or to impose the market of the local milk. Next one. Next slide. Oh, yes, what we done, some results of the project. If you look at to do these activities, we organize many sensibilization sessions. We organize some local milk producer also in cooperatives, and we do a lot of training and for target population. We build also some infrastructure like solar and like equipment for milk processing, and we give them, we put also some logistic and develop many partnership with actors and local actors and technical services. Please, next one. Next slide. Okay, here you can see some of the training we need in rural area in milk production to train them in the quality, how to produce good quality of milk, how to produce also the fodder crops, to avoid them to go and buy some fodders who will bring very expensive the cost of the milk, and then you have space, we have water, we can grow it, but we need also to train a lot of people in milk transformation and also on solar installation systems. Next one. Next slide. And here we can see how renewable energy also can improve some activities with solar pumping to give water to animals and to develop also crops. Next one, it is a very high need regarding the rudimentary we use. Oh, here is one of our platform to collect milk in rural area, and we see that in rainy season we collect a lot of milk, and we need energy to have it. And here we don't have any access to electricity, even if we install some solar panel. Okay, go on. Again, yes, here is the model of we use here to promote the local social entrepreneurship here, where we can connect the household, we can connect the milk transformation, and we can do a lot of business around this kind of platform if you have solar energy. Yes, again, yes, we can also, we are promoting also some small one where we can't have the big platform. We are installing some mini platform to collect also milk, to charge fund, but to produce and sell also some ice, because it's very hot here in rural area, and we need to have ice to drink even in the Ramadan period. Okay, next one. Yes, for the milk processing also to transform, after production we have transformation, and after transformation also we need energy to conserve the products. Yeah, just last one. Again, last one. So we have done a lot of things, and here we are okay. the lesson learned here, we see that the access, the promotion of access to energy stimulate a lot of demand of energy and create many opportunities for rural communities. But entrepreneurship also is blocked by no access to energy, and we need today we need partnership for technical or funding partnership to harden the access and to develop the very business. And we need also we expect to modernize this kind of activities in many issues. Okay, the last one. So here we want to thank also the GIZ. Here we are duplicating this experience in Senegal again, in Gossas area in one region, and here we want to focus on the resilience of the small producer to let them to help them to access to energy for house and for activities, for productive activities, focusing on milk value chain also, and to produce also good and high quality of milk, and also to heighten the market. And we expect that after this project we can, after all around the access of energy, we can help them also to transform or to process 600 liters per day to create job and some local business, to professionalize also many operators in rural area. Thank you very much by improving the local market of milk value chain. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Abdu. Wow. Another remarkable business model that we saw with regional milk and solar energy value chain program that is not only solving the milk paradox, but also in doing so, providing multiple productive use solutions like irrigation, access to water, cooling solutions, and so on. Definitely very impactful. And thanks a lot, Abdu, for your intervention.
Thank you.
Well, what more can I say? Ladies and gentlemen, what a great discussion we had today. Right from the beginning with the keynote speech presented by Mrs. Hun, which she gave to set the scene, we saw how productive use contributes to job creation and boost social economic well-being, how SDGs are important. Mr. Peter Schmidt, on the other hand, showed us the potential of a successful keymaker business model with proven track record to stimulate productive use for renewable energy demand. Furthermore, Ms. Lai from CLASP covered the tailored technical solution part, giving us an overview of productive use of renewable energy equipment and appliances that can accelerate the productive use of renewable energy demand. In addition, Ms. Lara from Uganda also showcased a picture of the Ugandan perspective and the role of key potential of inclusion of women in the productive use of renewable energy activities. Dr. Beheshti, on top of that, walked us through the Kenyan perspective and also in Eastern African perspective by giving us interlinkages between the energy access and water security, thereby helping to solve different problems that are very essential to address. And last but not the least, Mr. Endur presented the milk value chain and the associated development and implementation of productive use of renewable energy activities. Each of these presentations, if I may put it like that, were little pieces of a puzzle that were added together to form a full picture of productive use of renewable energy. Therefore, more and more efforts are needed to be channeled in that direction, and then only we can achieve the sustainable development goals by 2030. Please get in touch with Grüne Bürger Energy, Green People's Energy today to find out how you can also be a part of their multiple programs and contribute to the development process. I am happy to let you know that there will be a surprise announcement right after this one, and please stay tuned for that. And also feel free to get in touch with my colleagues or myself to get a feeling about how ARE is well placed to help you in terms of your business development, market intelligence, policy and advocacy, communications and marketing. Thank you so much. And I have the pleasure to invite all the speakers to turn their camera on so that we can open the panel discussion right now. Right. Amazing. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining, and also thanks a lot for presenting your insightful presentation. I would have a first icebreaker question to, let's say, to warm you up to take the questions that I have, and also the difficult questions that the audience will pose today. So the first question to all the panelists, and I would like to have a very, let's say, 10-second response, a direct one-line answer from your side. How do we best consider the needs of local communities when developing decentralized renewable energy solutions? What are the best ways to empower the local communities? Let's go in the same order as the speaking program was there. Mrs. Hearn, over to you. Quick 30 seconds. Mrs. Hearn, please turn on your audio. Dear technical team, if you can help Mrs. Hearn to turn the audio on, please. Mrs. Hearn, we are still unable to hear you. The technical team told me that you're self-muted, so in order to unmute yourself, you have to do it from your side.
Yeah, now you can
Yes.
hear me. Yeah,
loud and clear. Please go on.
Maybe first, I think good examples, because we can see if you have a good example or best practice in one village, the others are coming and would like to have it too. Second, we have a benefit of our projects for women, so we must engage women and empower women to be activated, and the new jobs are for young people. But we have to work together with the old men, because in most of the villages, the old men are the chiefs, or there's an elder council. So we must be diplomatic with old men, but we must empower the women and the young people.
Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Nico. What's your take on that? Please unmute yourself. Nico, we can't hear you. Please unmute yourself. Sorry.
Sorry, here we go.
Yes,
all right,
please.
thank you,
Go on.
Well, people in rural communities can be very powerful, and they have great ideas over and over again. But I think we should not overestimate the capacities of the people on the ground, which usually have primary or secondary education, right? And that is where the professionals from the mini-grid companies need to come in, and from the renewable energy sector need to come in, and then meet the people at where everybody can deliver at the best of her specific knowledge and capacity level. And I think that is the message that I want to send out.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nico. Over to you, Elisa. What's your take on that?
Yeah, for me, it's really trying to understand what's the need and preference that consumer and end users are looking for, right? And so you can kind of tailor and customize technology, and that's like best appropriately designed for this particular group of people.
Thank you. Hamid?
I agree with all the panels and also for what I heard, especially on the need of the pilot. That's super important. But what special I want to add here is more than thinking about what people need, more think about how that need should be answered. The needs are very clear. No one is not a rocket science to understand people need water. How that need should be answered is always the key and challenge.
Indeed, need specific answers. Over to you, Eileen. What do you think about it?
Thank you. It's interesting when the answers are all preempted right before, but I would say it is a combination of all those. And I'd like to emphasize on the part of problem solving. No one refuses a product that improves their lives at the right cost. So that tailored, specific, community designed product, understanding their needs and meeting them is the answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Abdul, over to you.
Okay, thank you. I agree with all they said, but I think that's we need to involve them in the process to understand very well what people needs, and to design it very well. and during the implementation to put them, to show them the interest. I think, and they will use the best solution. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Dear audience, let me remind you once again that you can ask your question to the speakers. And while doing so, please name the speaker that you're asking your question to. Let's go back again to Mrs. Hun. Mrs. Hun, I have a first question to you. Access to modern energy with decentralized renewable energy can enable economic activities in rural areas, provide basic needs like water, healthcare, support entrepreneurship, enhance security, and improve general well-being. How is productive use of renewable energy a key component of universal electrification strategy?
I think we had a lot of very good examples here from all the other speakers, so you can see there's really a benefit. The next step we have to do is to look for financial instruments, and we are doing that with our renewable energy programs with Green People's Energy, because on the one side we have the GIZ, and the GIZ is staying for good examples and best practice. On the other side we have the KfW, and the KfW is a bank. So we must scale up, because the one is best examples, but the other is that we will have a solution for the whole country and for big regions in Africa. And that means we need financial instruments. We are doing that now, because most times the banks, the KfW is looking for big projects, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million. And we now have to look for funds, for a crowd lender, because we would like to support small projects. And that's now our work to do, and we are doing it. I am doing it with the KfW.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Hun. And also, very interesting thing that you noted, the access to finance, which itself is a very giant topic. And I have the pleasure to let the audience know that there will be a topic fully aligned or fully targeted regarding the access to finance, and which will be coming in this order of PWCET series webinars. Let me go to the second speaker, Nico Peter Schmidt. I have a question for you regarding how the key maker model creates a ripple effect for the local communities, ensuring their increased participation in the value chain to work in tandem with the mini-grid operators. That enhances the livelihood of the locals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that question. We believe that collaboration between mini-grid operators and the communities can be especially fruitful if everybody, as I said before, if everybody does what he or she can do best. We don't want to change people before they can enter into business, right? We want to take the people's knowledge and capacities as they are. Of course, we can incrementally improve and increase capacity, but we want to bring people into business straight away. We want to actually help them make a living from what they can do, like from the capacities that they have. And this does not only build income, it also builds confidence. And that is almost as important as the income that you generate. So what we do is basically we bring in the capacities, the management capacities of a mini-grid company, couple this with the capacities and the knowledge about local resources around the community to generate income to the community through the mini-grid operator. Of course, that has to be on a very, let's say, fair trade certified level. But if that is given, as soon as that has been established, there is a growth path that both entities together can take up and follow. And this is where we see the ripple effect.
Thank you. Thank you so much. While I still have you on the line, there are a big surge of audience question, and I have the pleasure to ask you a very quick one. How do we shift or expand the focus from poverty alleviation towards rural industrialization in a community scale enterprises powered by electricity?
I think the question already is part of the answer, right? In the past, we indeed have considered rural communities as beneficiaries, right? So they are in need. They need to be given, right? They need to receive, but they have a lot to give, right? They have their powers. They have basically strength, labor, knowledge. They have good ideas. As I said before, they can become entrepreneurs, some of them. Some of them can be great labor forces on site. Let's make use of the people as they are. Let's not try to change them. Let's actually let them be what they are, and then work together, join hands, and make it happen.
All right, thank you so much. Elisa, let me come to you. I have a question. You mentioned the point on market intelligence and technology road mapping via field testing. A big chunk of market intelligence is obtained through data collection, as we all know. How do you collect these data from the field, and how the local communities participate in these data collection processes and hence contribute to the technology road mapping that comes afterwards?
That's a great question. And really that comes back to our intention of understand the market, right? And one part of our data collection effort is really trying to understand who are the players in the market, what are some of the brands and model of products sold in the market. And so we currently conduct what we call the market scoping survey in 10 different countries in East and West Africa and also in South Asia. We also engage local field consultants to visit various retail markets in the country and like really record the technical product information they can find on either the product packaging or on the product nameplates, right? And so like, for example, we work with Eileen and her team at Creek to collect some of the information in Uganda for us before. And so we certainly like welcome, right, the individual who has a local presence and has like relevant like surveying information to reach out to us and work with us on this. And I would also add that there's another way of like participating in some of our technical discussion and road mapping process. As E4A, we organized a technology working group for some of the productive use technology. And so for refrigerators and solar water pumps. And so if you're a manufacturer and distributor of these like product category and interested in participating in some of these technical discussion, definitely like feel free to reach out to us and we're happy to include you.
Thank you so much, Elisa. That was really informative. Hamid, let me come to you, and I have a quick question. With water kiosks approach, you have proven a reliable energy access that ensures water security for local population. Perfectly, now well done. Could you please tell us more about the policy and regulatory challenges that you had to face during the implementation of water kiosk projects?
This is a whole topic that we are now working on, which is called off-grid water. So far, off-grid water has not been as a recognized legal body, as a recognized industry. Always they put us, the different countries, different governments, they put us in the same category of the normal water businesses. This has been the greatest challenge, and we are now campaigning for it. We could work closely with the Ministry of Water, Ministry of Finance in Kenya and Tanzania, and they helped us. They recognize off-grid water. That's why we are now making the off-grid water alliance concept. So this is the main challenge that I find that off-grid water that we are talking about has not get any recognition around the world.
All right, thank you. And also very happy to see that the local governments, at least the national governments, they are acknowledging off-grid water as one of the solutions or one of the key problems that with DRE solutions can be addressed. Very informative. Thanks a lot. Eileen, I would like to take a quick question from the audience for you. What are the driving factors encouraging women to take up renewable energy for productive use or productive uses?
Okay, thank you. The driving factors. So, you know, the fact that the rudimentary methods, as I mentioned, take a lot of time. If they're milling or if imagine they're drying, the post-harvest losses are so much more. So what is always an encouraging driver is what makes their lives simpler, makes them more money that they can use to feed their children at home, keep their families in order, as well as give them more time to do other tasks, is always something that they welcome. As long as you meet their barriers and make it affordable, they're always welcome for it.
Thank you. Thank you. Abdu, let me come to you. Enda Energy has done a commendable job by creating this milk value chain. Please let us know what were the challenges faced to have these wide-scale local acceptance and behavioral change, because changing the people, like Eileen just mentioned, the rudimentary methods, the traditional methods, and then moving on to the modern practices are a little challenging. Therefore, please tell us more about how did you ensure the success of your model by imparting the change of behavior in the local communities?
Okay, thank you very much. So I think that we have faced many challenges, and now also we continue to face some challenges and to how to try to improve it. Among these challenges, you see that for new things it's not easy for the villages, and we need to demonstrate to them and let them see and agree or understand. The first, another thing is to choose the villages. Sometimes you have many villages. You choose the good ones. You don't have any data on milk production or any data on how many breeders you have, producers you have. So adhesion, you don't have any idea, and you don't have any data to do the planification. And sometimes it's very difficult with some local authorities who want to recommend you to choose this village or the other one. We have also the problem of the adhesion, how we can involve communities, how they will accept. So for us, we fix some adhesion criteria, and you need to follow this criteria to be choose or to be member of them. We push them to participate to be a member of the cooperative. You have to participate, and it's not easy, but it was one of our condition. And to operate also, they don't have the training, or they don't know some kind of practice or some traditional practice. There are some of them, they don't want the milk, they don't accept to do this, to do that. It was very difficult. We let them, we process, we take some population who live in the country, who live in the villages, we train them and let them processing all the milk, and we try to do one experience, two experience, and they follow it. And another one also will be the equipment. Sometimes they don't have it. It is very difficult to do what we want to do, because the access for road is very difficult. There is any road in some villages, and the equipment also they demand a lot of energy.
Indeed, definitely very important. The know-how and the capacity building, they are definitely the way forward to bring about the behavioral change. Dear panelists, I have the honor and pleasure to be your moderator today to speak about this very important topic on stimulating the demand for productive use. Looking at the time and the pressure of audience question that is all coming on me, I really feel sorry that we won't have the time to take all of them, but I would like to encourage all the audience today to please get in touch with all our speakers. The whole program, the recording, and the PowerPoint presentations will be made available on the ARE website. So don't feel that you are going to lose out on anything. All our speakers will be ready to answer your questions. They are just one email away. Right now, it's the time for making that surprise announcement, and I have the pleasure to invite Ms. Elena Weber from Head of Program GIZ Green People's Energy to make that surprise announcement. Elena, the floor is all yours. I see that you have appeared already on the screen.
Yes, thank you very much, Deepak, for that introduction. First of all, thank you very much to all the speakers for all the inspirational work that you and your organizations do. I think we're all very much aware of the challenge ahead of us in achieving SDG 7. So sharing these very valuable experiences, sharing your examples is one very important step. Today, though, we would like to use this opportunity of the webinar to make another announcement on behalf of the Green People's Energy team here at GIZ. So to announce an opportunity to collaborate with us further on improving energy access in sub-Saharan Africa. And that's a upcoming €1 million grant application window that will offer up to €125,000 of grant funding to suitable organizations. The idea of the challenge is to provide an additional funding pipeline. It's open to non-profit organization as well as local for-profit organization. And we're looking for organizations that are working specifically on two challenges that we have identified. The first one is the aspect of increasing off-grid system sustainability. So this challenge centers mainly around the increasing number of defective energy systems in rural areas that many of you are probably aware of or have encountered yourselves. So you might also have some great ideas already on how these problems can be addressed. If so, we would love to hear from you and support you in implementing that idea. The second challenge that we want to provide funding for is the aspect of reducing CO2 emissions via energy access. Here, the challenge we have identified is basically, from our perspective, a lack of sector coupling. So on the one hand, we see an increasing value of CO2 and an increasing demand for CO2 emission certificates, especially in industrialized countries. At the same time, we see a consistent lack of access to clean renewable energies, partially due to lack of finance that was mentioned by some of the speakers. So what we hope to see in projects is that projects bring together both of these elements, so linking very firm calculation processes on CO2 emissions, reductions to all kinds of projects, project approaches that further energy access. And again, also here you might have some ideas already on how this can be put in practice. Yeah, we look forward for your ideas. My colleague will post the link to our website once more in the chat. You will find all information on the call on our website very soon. Next slide, please. The window for the call looks the following. So the call will officially open on July 19th, so in a bit more than 10 days, and close end of August 31st. There will be an open Q&A session in between on August 4, where we'll be happy to answer all your questions. You can find then, as I said, in the coming days, all information on conditions and criteria on our website. You will also be able to find the link to the application app that will be shared there starting on July 19th. And yeah, we're hoping for inspiring solutions coming from all corners of the sector, and look very much forward to your ideas to be shared with us. And back to you, Deepak. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Elena. So dear audience, so this was our surprise announcement today. So let's get cracking, prepare the proposals, and share it with our colleagues at GBE. Okan, next slide, please. And I have the pleasure to bring back our Commander-in-Chief, David Lecoq, CEO ARE, to do the closing remarks. Thank you so much from my side, and please keep safe.
Thank you very much, Deepak. I'm not quite sure about the Commander-in-Chief part, but very happy to be here with you again at the end of this really fabulous webinar. Big thank you to all our speakers, our contributors, of course also to GBE for our surprise announcement. If we can do that at every event, maybe it's an invitation, then definitely that will be very well noted, Mrs. Hun, and the full team, and obviously to you also, Deepak, our really excellent moderator of today. Well, for me, I can only say this has been really promising on this session on building the demand on productive use. The summary that we are going to make of this event, really to capture the key points, as well as all the PowerPoints, the recordings, will be made available on our website, so keep an eye out for that. And you are obviously going to be invited to the next webinar under this PWCET series. The date and exact topic are to be announced, but it should be in 2 to 3 months' time, I believe. So nothing left for me but to bid you adieu. Wish you a very nice rest of the day. Stay safe, and I hope to see you again very, very shortly. Reach out to us, to the speakers, for any questions you may have in the meantime. Salam, goodbye, merci, au revoir.